Ever wondered what really goes on in a woman's mind when you just vanish without a word? No text, no call, no warning, just silence? You might think she shrugs it off, moves on, maybe even forgets you. But let's be honest, that's not how this works. Welcome to Man of Substance, and today we're unpacking a topic most guys either overlook or completely misunderstand. What a woman really thinks when you suddenly disappear. And no, this isn't about defending women or villainizing men. This is about understanding the impact of your actions, even the silent ones. Let's make one thing clear. Ghosting might feel like taking back control, avoiding drama, or making a quiet exit. But to her, it's a storm of confusion, self-doubt, and emotional chaos. Not because she's weak, but because you left a blank space, and the mind naturally fills in blanks with fear, anger, or worse. Fantasies about your intentions. You may think you're protecting her from the truth. You may believe you're doing her a favor by not explaining yourself. But here's the raw truth most men don't hear. Your silence doesn't disappear. It echoes. And sometimes, that echo is louder than any goodbye. In this video, we're going to explore what goes through a woman's mind the moment you walk away. We'll walk through the emotional stages she goes through, how it affects her confidence, the stories she starts telling herself, and yes, how it reshapes the way she sees not just you, but men in general. So before you assume she's over it, or say she'll be fine, you need to understand the mental trail you left behind. Stick around. This isn't about guilt, it's about growth. 1. She feels rejected. When you disappear without saying a word, the first thing she feels is rejection. Not confusion, not anger, straight up rejection. It hits her like a gut punch, even if she hides it well. One moment you're talking, sharing energy, connecting, then the next, silence. And trust me, that silence is loud. Men often underestimate how personal a woman takes this kind of exit. You might think you're just taking space or avoiding awkward conversations, but what she hears in that silence is, "I wasn't good enough to be told the truth." That's what hurts the most. See, whether she was deeply into you or just starting to figure things out, your sudden absence sends a message. You didn't matter enough for closure. That feeling can shake even the most confident woman, especially if she has no idea why it happened. The mind starts to race. Was it something I said? Was I too available? Was I not attractive enough? And once those thoughts start, they spiral fast. Let's say you were talking to a woman for a few weeks. Things seemed cool, good convo, laughs, maybe even some chemistry. She opens up a little. You flirt. She starts thinking, okay, maybe this could go somewhere. Then suddenly, nothing. No more texts. You're just gone. She checks her phone more often than she'll admit. She rewrites the last conversation in her head a dozen times. She replays how she responded to your last message, wondering if she came off too strong or not strong enough. Even if she puts on a confident front, inside, it feels like being thrown out without warning. And the real kicker? She won't always tell anyone how bad it made her feel. She might act unbothered. She might even say, "It's whatever." But that rejection sits with her. It makes her question her worth, her judgment, and even her desirability. And all of that came from silence. So before you vanish, thinking it's not that deep, remember, rejection isn't always about what you say. Sometimes it's the things you don't say that cut the deepest. 2. She blames herself. Before she blames you, before she even blames the situation, she blames herself. It's one of the most overlooked truths about women. When a man disappears without explanation, the first person she turns on is herself. She'll start asking silent questions no one hears but her. What did I do wrong? Did I say too much? Was I not enough? These questions don't just pop up out of nowhere. They come from a place of deep insecurity that even the most confident woman can carry. And no, it doesn't mean she's weak. It means she was vulnerable. She opened up, trusted the flow, and then it just stopped. That silence feels like punishment, but without the crime. A lot of men think women are dramatic or overthinkers. What they don't understand is that this overthinking is usually a survival mechanism. When you go ghost, her brain kicks into overdrive, trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. She doesn't have your side of the story, so she creates one. And in the first draft of that story, she's the problem. And here's the part most men miss. Women are socialized to believe that when something goes wrong in a relationship, or even just a conversation with a man, it must be because they did something wrong. It's not always logical. It's emotional. Emotional doesn't mean irrational. It means it hits a part of her you don't see. The way she starts to pick herself apart is subtle. She might change how she talks to people. She might question how she presents herself. She might even start thinking that being herself was the mistake, all because you left without a word. This is why your silence is heavier than you realize. Because while you think you're just not feeling it anymore, she's stuck thinking she was never enough to begin with. That hits deeper than most guys can imagine. And here's the kicker. When she blames herself, she doesn't always admit it out loud. She internalizes it, carries it, stores it somewhere behind her eyes where you can't see it. And even if she seems fine, that self-blame starts shaping how she shows up next time. With you or with someone else. She's not the same anymore. She doubts herself a little more. She guards herself a little harder. All because of a vanishing act. So while you walk away thinking it's no big deal, she's left holding questions with no answers, and all of them are pointed at her. 3. She gets angry. After the confusion, after the self-blame, after the late-night spirals trying to figure out where she went wrong, anger shows up. And when it does, it's not quiet. This is where everything starts to shift. She stops asking why and starts saying, "How dare you?" And rightfully so. At this point, she's replayed the situation over and over in her head. She's gone through the emotional labor of blaming herself, analyzing your every message, every moment, and trying to justify your silence. But when none of that gives her peace, something inside her snaps. And that's when the anger shows up. Not just toward you, but toward the way she let it all happen. She feels played. She feels like her time was wasted. She feels like she gave you the benefit of the doubt and got burned for it. And that frustration becomes fuel. That's not to say she wants revenge or drama, but she wants to protect her dignity. She wants to reclaim her power, because disappearing on someone makes them feel powerless. And no one wants to sit in that feeling for long. Most men don't realize how much effort it takes for a woman to even open up emotionally. So when she finally does, and the person on the other end just drops off the face of the earth, it doesn't just sting, it offends something deep in her. It shakes her sense of fairness. It makes her wonder what kind of man would pull something like that after everything seemed fine. And when that anger hits, it's loud in her mind, even if she stays silent on the outside. This is also when the questions turn into statements. He knew what he was doing. He never cared. He just used me. She fills in the blanks herself because you left them open, and none of what she's saying is coming out of nowhere. It's coming from pain. Anger is often a mask for that pain, especially when someone feels like they've been treated with disrespect. You see, anger isn't always about hatred or revenge. Sometimes it's about trying to regain control. It's her way of saying, "You may have walked away, but you don't get to walk all over me." So when you disappear and think she's probably just over it, don't be so sure. She might not be crying about it anymore, but that doesn't mean she's okay with how it went down. She's angry now, and whether she shows it or not, that anger has changed how she sees you, and maybe how she sees herself too. 4. She thinks you lied. The moment you disappear, you start becoming a character in her story. And in that story, you're not just the guy who wasn't feeling it anymore or needed space. You're the guy who lied. It's not even about big, grand lies like "I love you" or "I'll call you later." It's the little promises you made, the hints you dropped, and the expectations you set, all of which now feel like lies. Let's be real. No one likes to think they've been played. But when you ghost, that's exactly how it feels to her. She looks back at all the moments, those small promises or gestures, and they start to look fake. You told her things were good. You acted interested. You engaged, responded, even made future plans. To her, that was trust. And when you disappear without any explanation, all that trust breaks apart. Now, she's sitting with the thought that the whole thing might have been a facade. Maybe you never cared. Maybe you were just saying things to keep her around for your own reasons. Why didn't he just say he wasn't into it? Why didn't he just tell me the truth? That thought creeps in, and it changes everything. It's no longer about the breakup or the situation, it's about her feeling tricked. The danger here is that women are excellent at picking up on cues and energy. When you act a certain way, it builds expectations. Even if you never directly promised anything, your actions spoke louder than your words. She trusted those actions. And when they disappear without warning, it feels like you've taken something from her, something she can't get back. This is where it gets deep. When she thinks you lied to her, it starts to affect her ability to trust again, not just with you, but with men in general. The idea that someone could be so dishonest with her shakes her faith in others. And it's not just about being lied to. It's about the emotional investment she put in you. When that trust gets broken, she feels like she wasted her time and energy. She feels like she was too naive, too trusting, and that's a hard pill to swallow. For you, it might feel like an easy escape. No confrontation, no messy conversations, just disappear. But for her, it's a mental unraveling. When a woman feels like she's been lied to, the walls start going up. She becomes more guarded, more careful with her words and her heart. What was once an open book of possibility is now a closed chapter. And here's the thing, you can't unlie the lie. You can't go back and take away the silence, but understanding that she thinks you lied to her, that's a start. Because when you truly realize how deeply your absence affects her trust, it might change how you treat the next woman you engage with, and if nothing else, it'll help you see the damage that silence really does. 5. She loses trust. When you disappear without warning, the next thing that shatters is her trust. Trust isn't something a woman just hands out. It's earned through actions, consistency, and communication. And when you pull away with no explanation, all that trust you built gets tossed aside. You might think it's just one small misstep, but trust, once broken, is harder to rebuild than most men realize. It's not just about the fact that you're no longer there. It's about the feeling of betrayal. Every moment she trusted you, thought you were different, thought this time things might be different, now feels like a lie. Trust isn't something you can just patch up. Once it cracks, it stays fractured. Take, for example, a woman who's been talking to you for a while. You've spent time together, she's opened up to you, shared her thoughts, and maybe even made plans for the future. She begins to trust that things are heading in the right direction. She starts to believe in the connection you've been building. Then suddenly, you disappear. No text, no call, just nothing. She checks her phone constantly, wondering if maybe you're just busy. But days go by and the silence grows louder. That's when the trust starts to crumble. For her, it's not just about this one instance, it's about the bigger picture. She starts asking herself, was everything we talked about just a game? Was I being naive to think he actually cared? She looks back at everything through a new lens, questioning her judgment. The trust she placed in you feels like it was taken for granted, and that's a gut punch she wasn't expecting. Now every time she meets someone new, or even considers a future with someone, she's going to wonder if she can trust them. Trust isn't just about you staying in the picture, it's about consistency in your words and actions. When you leave without explanation, it's not just a missed opportunity, it's a lost chance at building something real. And the worst part is, once that trust is gone, it's much harder to earn it back, even with the best intentions. So when you disappear, remember, it's not just about you slipping out of her life. It's about you taking a piece of her belief in others with you. And that's something she won't forget. 6. She shuts down. When a woman shuts down after you disappear, it's not just about losing interest or moving on. It's a defense mechanism. After you ghost her, she feels like she can't let herself be open again. She feels like being vulnerable only leads to pain. The emotional walls go up. And what's worse? She doesn't even know if she'll ever let them come back down. At first, she might try to push through it. She might convince herself it's no big deal, maybe even think she can just forget about you. But inside, that openness she once had to trust and care deeply is starting to close. It's like a little emotional switch is flipped, and now everything feels distant. She becomes guarded, protecting her heart and mind from anyone who could potentially do the same thing again. It's not that she's necessarily bitter, it's that she doesn't feel safe anymore. She wonders, what was the point of showing that much care? What was the point of trusting, if this is how it ends? And slowly, that doubt starts eating away at the ability to connect emotionally. She begins to shut off the parts of her that were once open and full of hope. When she shuts down, it's not just about you. It's about the fear of repeating the same hurt. The next time she's in a situation where she's asked to trust, a part of her hesitates. She'll start to hold back in conversations, stop giving her full attention, or even avoid getting too emotionally attached. Not because she doesn't want to, but because she's learned the hard way that being too open leaves her exposed. And here's the thing. She might seem fine on the surface. She might even act like nothing happened. But underneath, it's like a quiet storm of emotional distance. She doesn't express it right away, but every time she feels a potential connection, the walls she built come back up. It's not something she's actively doing. It's just the aftermath of feeling like she gave too much and got too little in return. It's not just about moving on from you. It's about shutting down a piece of herself that used to be free to love, to trust, and to hope. And once she shuts down, it's harder to open up again. It's not just about you anymore. It's about the pattern of behavior that's now imprinted on her heart. She starts second-guessing her instincts, wondering if the next person might pull the same stunt. That lingering doubt affects how she interacts with men moving forward, whether she's conscious of it or not. 7. She disappears. 2. When you disappear, something inside her changes. At first, she might try to reach out, try to figure out where you went, what happened, why things fell apart. But as the silence stretches on, something shifts in her. The woman who once would have clung to the hope of hearing from you, the woman who cared about understanding what went wrong, slowly starts to fade into the same silence you left her in. She stops texting. She stops calling. She pulls back emotionally, mentally, and physically. She begins to disappear too, not just from you, but from everyone. She starts protecting herself by withdrawing from situations where she might feel exposed. She might avoid seeing people who remind her of the connection you once had, simply because it hurts too much to face it. She's no longer that open, engaging person she once was. The emotional distance between you is mirrored in how she now keeps the world at arm's length. This isn't a conscious decision she makes. It's her way of coping. When someone vanishes without explanation, she feels like a fool for caring, for investing emotionally. She feels like her trust was betrayed, and that leaves her wanting to protect herself from ever feeling like that again. So she shuts down. She disappears, and in doing so, she thinks she's protecting her heart from more pain. But it's more than just emotional distance. It's a change in how she interacts with everything and everyone around her. She may stop engaging in conversations she would have once been open to. She might pull back from friendships, avoid deep connections, or distance herself from anything that could make her vulnerable. The woman who used to be an open book becomes a mystery, even to herself. She doesn't do this out of spite. She does it because, deep down, she doesn't know how to process the emotional wreckage you left behind. She's not just grieving you. She's grieving what it means to give her heart fully to someone, only to be let down when she does. And here's the thing. Once she disappears, it's hard to bring her back. Not because she's angry, but because she's learned to protect herself. She learned that if she can disappear too, if she can pull herself away, maybe the hurt won't feel so sharp. Maybe she won't feel so exposed. She pulls away because she has to, because it's the only way to keep herself safe. So, while you may have vanished from her life, you should know that she's learning to vanish from her own heart as well. And when she disappears, it's not just about you anymore. It's about her finding a way to survive. Here's the controversial truth. There's power in disappearing completely from a woman's life. When you pull away without a word, you show emotional independence that many men lack. You're no longer chasing validation or approval. You reclaim control over your own life, your own decisions. It's a level of freedom that's rare, and it can be liberating. And let's be real, it forces her to confront her own feelings. When a man vanishes, it shakes up the dynamic. She wonders what went wrong, why you disappeared, and it can make her take a long, hard look at herself. In a way, it becomes a test of emotional resilience. For the man, disappearing gives him the chance to stop playing by anyone else's rules and take charge of his own emotional world. It's about freedom. Freedom from the drama. Freedom from expectation. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever disappeared and felt the power in it? Or have you been left wondering why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reaching out to connect. Let's talk about it.